Heaven Eye iTube, it's Avla. Today I wanted to speak about birth work and how we see birth work today in the world. How birth work is marketed on social media and things like that, and how it has definitely changed from traditional birth work and how birth well, there is no traditional quote unquote birth work. It's just birth support, what you might call doula, have the label of as a doula today, is really traditionally any woman that has a clean heart and clean intentions for the birthing women in the birthing space. And ideally, historically, ancestrally, it's obviously women with experience with birth and things like that. But today, we have things like the title of doula, and it seems that birth work has become more about information instead of intuition. Because, like I've said before, birth is about surrender. So, no one can actually even guide the birthing female. The birthing female is guided in her surrender to the high side, to her body, her child, all working together spiritually. It's about surrender. So the work that sisterins in the space do, the quote unquote birth work, what we may call quote unquote doula, is actually, like I've said, about being a holding hand and having a clean heart and clean intentions for the birthing female and the child that is forwarding. And it is sensed easily when the birth support, the sisterins supporting, or whoever is supporting in the birth space, does not have that clean heart or has their own trauma, has not experienced complete surrender, maybe in their own birth experience, or they've seen other birthing experiences that have caused trauma for them. Even the tiniest bit of trauma, it can be sensed when it is brought into another birthing space, because that act of surrender is just so great that you might want to run away from it. And if someone has ran away from it or has experienced a sort of push and pull during their moment of surrender, or seen certain things that cause fear in them about birth, then that trauma can be sensed, and persons need to cleanse, especially sisterins need to cleanse themselves before entering other birthing spaces and supporting other birthing females, because the point is to act as a holding hand. We don't need information. We need female, the feminine energy, to act as a conductor for that surrender. So if there's energy in the space that is fearful because of what they've been through or what they've seen or what they've read, like I said, it's a lot of information these days, what they've read or seen social media, seen how, wherever, even in the media, the way they portray birth is so scary, screaming, running to the hospital, things like that. So if that energy is present, it acts as an insulator. When we talk about feminine energy, it's a lot of we talk about feminine energy being a conductor for the birthing female to surrender that fearful energy, because, like I said, of what we've seen or experienced ourselves, that trauma acts as an insulator in the space. Even if the birthing female herself is not the owner of that trauma, having that in the space, that type of energy that is not a conductor to surrender, should not be welcomed in the birth space. So being a part of a birth work, so to speak, doulas and things like that, is about healing yourself as a female, healing your own traumas, healing from information we've seen or read in the world, things we've seen, healing from our own experiences even, so that we can be conductors of pure, clean-hearted, fearless, God-fearing energy within a birthing space for other sisterins. Birth work is not about information. It's about healing ourselves as sisterins so that we can be conductors of surrender, that feminine act of surrender that occurs during birth. So it's not about information. Today I see a lot of information, and I know the world has become advanced in knowing different things about the body and different terms and things like that. Ancestrally, they didn't have all these diagrams, and there's classes, certifications for birth work. So I guess that's just filled with information pretty much. And you can become a birth worker and still have your own traumas, and those own traumas that you have can even be projected into another female's birthing space. You can go get your certification to be a doula or a midwife or things like that, but what's important is coming healed, because if you do not come healed into a space with another birthing female, your traumas can be projected into that space. You can project fear in that space. If you do not heal anything you've seen, maybe with family members or experience yourself, then that can act as an insulator of the electricity that is flowing during birth. You want to be a conductor. That's what the certification needs to be about, is healing and how to hold the birthing female as she surrenders. Not so much teaching and information and rigidness, things like that. It's about learning how to flow and assure the birthing female that deep act of surrender and that place she's going and traveling to come and return with the child. As a child enters the world, that it's safe to go, even if it's scary, quote unquote scary. It's safe. It's safe to surrender. Birth work is about assuring, and like I've said many times, acting as a conductor for the birthing female to surrender and heal herself even in that surrender. So what we see today, so many Instagram accounts, so many courses and classes, take this course, take that course, become a doula, become a midwife, and all these things, when ancestrally it's just there was no course. I'm sure these courses have been around for maybe 100 years or less. Ancestrally, traditionally, there's no birth work course for being a doula or anything like that. It's about intuition, and it's about healing, and it's about trust and sharing that trust, so that the birthing female can have that trust in herself, which in the highest side, to complete the task. So yeah, we really need to move away. I know it's the so-called age of information, but it's polluting our naturality by thinking that everything is about these strict, rigid rules, strict things we learn in a classroom that we must then apply into life, when life is the classroom. Really, that's what it is traditionally. They don't go to courses for birth work. They sometimes a female might just be called to that from a young age. Sometimes she grows into that as she herself experiences birth and things of that nature. And you just see it around you. And like I said, life is a classroom. You don't go in a classroom, learn, pass for certification, and then apply that to life. You live and you grow. And living life is the best way to learn. So yeah, we really need to return to that with our birth work and not let it be polluted by so much information and currency things with money. Yeah, birth work needs to be about intuition and not information, so to speak. And healing. To be healed as sisterins and to not let the traumas of the world act as a blockage for our feminine need to surrender, the innate knowing to surrender. Don't let your own trauma or other traumas, even for the birthing female, other traumas to pollute that space. We don't want any blockages of energy in a birthing space. Blockage of energy in a birthing space is definitely, that as simple as I can put it. We do not need that. We do not want that in a birthing space. Birth is all about the flow of energy, right? You can think, I'm not going to get into that right now, but yes, I just want to speak today about birth work and how I see so much informational things and taking classes and courses and paying for this, paying for that, and learning about something on paper, then you suddenly apply it, or learning with diagrams, things like that, suddenly you start applying that in real life. But real life is the teacher. Reality is the best teacher, right? Experience. And not just experience, but intuition. Like I said, some females are called from a young age to be interested in supporting in the birthing space. As all of us, all females can be doulas, as long as we can recognize our traumas and where we need to heal, so that we act as conductors of energy. We help energy to flow in these spaces because we don't have any fear ourselves. So that fear is not projected onto the birthing female or anything like that. So, yep, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Hopefully this is understood. It's not to take away from the things we've learned. There's some things you can learn and take away from in the world, certain, but even those things come from tradition. Certain